We bring a new perspective, talk, portrayal, and perception.
Reflect on many topics, friendship, love, life lessons.
The goal is to get you thinking, so tune in to the show.
We're immune to all the trolling, leave the comments below.
Hi and welcome to Trollproof. I'm Ashil. Today we have a guest, Astha.
Hi.
Today we're going to be discussing the happiness paradox.
Yes.
It was actually something that was brought to light by Astha from watching one of our previous Trollproof videos. If you haven't seen it, it's called Joy versus Happiness, so you should check it out. So Astha,
Yes.
go ahead and tell me what the happiness paradox is.
So the happiness paradox basically outlines that we're all searching for happiness, but there's this mentality that we can't directly achieve happiness, and you have to kind of find other ways to go to it. So let's do this thing that the researcher that came up with the paradox talks about is if a genie grants you 3 wishes. And these can't be like, oh, I asked for infinite wishes.
Right,
No,
of course.
like 3 sincere.
Within the rules.
Right, like 3 sincere wishes. What are you gonna ask for?
Probably money, fame, and power, you know?
Right. But so why do you want money, fame, and power? Do you think it's gonna fulfill your life? Do you think it's gonna make you happier? What is the ultimate goal that you're gonna achieve from this?
I don't think you ask for those things with a goal in mind. Those are just, things that you're taught to want.
But what if you took that out? What if you took out the socialization aspect and it's just in my core, this is what I want
to do?
Yeah, or to fulfill
I feel
your
like
life.
I wouldn't be able to tell you what I wanted to do with the things that I just asked for.
Right.
And so if you took that out, I wouldn't know what's left. Because in life, those are the only things that seem to matter to me. And so I guess you're saying that that's the happiness paradox, is that I'm not asking for happiness, I'm asking for everything that I think happiness is.
It's like if you want to go to New York, why would you ask for a flight to Philadelphia and then New York, right? Just ask for a flight to New York.
But you're thinking about it very objectively. So you're saying, I know what happiness is, right? And most people don't have the tools, or they've only experienced happiness in flashes.
Right.
And so for me to say that seeing my daughter being born makes me happy is easy, right? When I get that bill from the hospital,
right?
Then it's I'm happy that I have my daughter, but having my daughter and money
would be better.
Gotcha. Exactly. And so what do I ask for when you ask me what I want? I want money. I don't think, I don't think to ask, I want what makes me happy.
Right.
Or I want wisdom, or I want, a 50% share of Google.
No, that would be nice.
Right, exactly. Because that wouldn't just be money, it would be the means to really dictate the world, honestly.
Right. Yeah.
Because if you own 50% of Google,
you get to make some choices that other people don't.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. Okay, so what do you think? How do you think the happiness paradox affects you?
So when I did this exercise, the first thing I asked for was happiness.
Okay.
Which I didn't. That's what I thought everyone would ask for. It's like, what do we want in life? We want to be happy and to make others happy. At least that's what I want in my life.
Okay.
So my first thing was happiness. The second thing was deeper relationships.
Okay.
Right? And the third thing was to just be able to study forever, because I'm a nerd.
To be able to study forever.
But yeah, so for me, it's oftentimes you think about happiness and the mentality is you need to know sadness to know what happiness is, right? But think about kids, like little kids, right? They don't necessarily know what sadness is, but you don't see them taking away from their happiness, They're like, I had food today, I went outside to the park, life is great.
Life is great.
So why do we come up in the adult world where we just lose that, what one researcher called happy smarts?
Okay.
Like being able to do things and look for things that make us happy, rather than, oh, I need to do this to have this career, or do this to have this kind of academic success.
But it's also, you have to think about it like this. The world, as kids, we think as kids, and then there's a transition where Now you have to be an adult. Now you have to
Right.
do this. Now you have to do that. And so people's goals, happiness is a natural thing, right?
Right.
But I feel like working the same job for 40 years is irregular. We've made it normal.
Yeah.
Right? We've normalized it, but that's very irregular, especially doing something that you're just doing because you want a paycheck, which is what most people do.
Yeah.
Right? And so when you ask, if my mother did this for 40 years,
Yeah.
right, and she isn't happy because she never made the money that she wanted to make, it goes to say that if I'm going to do it for 40 years and not be happy, then what
What's
I
the
should do
point?
is then what I should ask for is money, because the only reason I'm going to work is for the money. It's not like I have a passion for what I do, which a lot of people don't, honestly. I mean, I would dare to say that probably 80% of people don't like what they do. They're only there to get paid, pay rent, pay off something that they own.
Which, like, you can't fault them for, you know? Like, so I know your passion is music.
Right,
Mine
yes.
is medicine. Like, that's what makes me happy. And I have the means
Right.
to go out and do things that
This is true.
steer me in that direction, but a lot of people don't.
But you also have supportive parents.
Exactly.
You also have the brains.
Right,
You
like the resources.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And I mean, if everyone were gifted that, I don't think everyone would necessarily take advantage of it.
Really?
I really don't, because there are plenty of people that have had aspirations like you, aspirations like me, aspirations like Zach, that have not made their aspirations for what they aspirated come true. And so for me, I think, when you talk about the happiness paradox, I'm like, well, there are factors that affect the happiness paradox. Like maybe you legitimately tried,
Yeah.
to make that happen. You were searching for happiness in the first place.
Yeah.
But you just never
Achieved it.
achieved it.
I think that also, like, we think of happiness as this big bad wolf, right? Like, I need X, Y, and Z in order to find my happiness. But maybe it's just the little things.
This is true.
Like yesterday I was telling you about this, that this lady that where I work, she brought me food, and I was like, this is fantastic, right? Not because I
Yes.
was hungry, not
Right.
because I didn't already have food, but just the thoughtfulness of someone else being like,
Right.
hey, I see you almost every day, and I made food and I wanted to share it with
Right.
you, right? So it's the little moments that you can still find happiness in. It doesn't need to be like, I married Prince Harry, right?
Okay. Right. So I guess my thing, as you were saying that, is crazy that I didn't ask for like world peace from my gene.
Right.
I didn't ask for the longevity of the world.
Nope.
I didn't ask for, everyone to just have better lives. I asked for personal things, personal gain. And so do you think that if the world thought more about others instead of just focusing on self, because even, you can say, oh, well, that's what politicians do. And I'm like, no, that's not what politicians do.
no.
They have a goal for themselves. They have
Yeah.
somewhere they want to be. What if there's no gain for you and you
Yeah.
do it anyway? If, like, for instance, I'm going to meet with a school today, and I told them, hey, I don't want anything. Like, you guys are in the area that I have clients in.
Yeah.
I'm willing to work with you guys, just because I want to get activities in order to that I give back.
Right.
That's important to me, because I feel like I've always talked about doing it,
Yeah.
and I've never gone out and done it. Like,
right.
doctors do services for people, whether it be people without insurance, especially dentists,
Right.
and I want to do the same as a musician. It's just like,
Yeah.
hey, you guys are comped lessons.
And that's something that's talked a lot about in the happiness literature, because, like, my psychology brain, that's how I function, is that when you're giving to others, you're happier
Okay.
than when you're doing things for yourself. So there was this experiment done where students were randomly given $20, and they were either asked to spend it on themselves or spend it on someone else.
Okay.
And then at the end of the day, they had to fill out a survey about their emotions and how they felt about it. And the people that spent it on others reported being happier.
Okay.
than the students that spent it on
On
themselves. Yeah.
Huh.
So there's very much something to be said about altruism as
Okay.
a path to happiness.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Hey, that's pretty intense. So, what do you think we can do? Because that's, I guess, the whole point of Trollproof is how can we instill in others that the happiness paradox is real, and at least let them, other than watching the video, of
Right,
course, right?
yeah.
But what's a way that we can, I guess, in the world that we live in, apply and think about, hey, this may be like a happiness paradox. Am I gonna be that guy that like goes the money route and doesn't end up being happy?
Right.
How do you convince people that, hey, this is something that you need to take into account?
I don't think it's something you can convince anyone of, because if you have a goal in mind, you're going to do that regardless of what someone else says, because you yourself are the most aware of all your situations.
Mm-hmm.
And there's probably a reason of why you're thinking what you're thinking and when you're thinking it, right?
So what you're saying is there's no way for us to, I guess, like dictate
No.
that hey, you should take this into account. Like maybe, that $150 that you're gonna go spend at the club,
Right.
you can take and say, okay, well, I'll take this $150 and I'll take my whole family, not my immediate family, my whole
Right.
family, and say, okay, well, let's go,
To
watch a
dinner.
movie, or
Right.
dinner,
Yeah.
and just have like a family outing where that you're taking out people that you don't usually take out.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily have to give back to the community,
Yeah.
but you give back to your family, the
Yeah.
people around you. I know I had that thought, I was like, I take so many girls out on dates,
Right.
and I pay for them and blah blah blah, and then my brother will be like, hey Ashil, can you like
Give
pay-
me $20.
yeah, or like
right?
just take me down the street for something to eat, and I'm
Yeah.
like, no, I'm not taking you nowhere, and I honestly thought about this, and I was like, I have my priorities twisted. How can I go and spend all this money either on myself or
Basically a stranger.
a stranger, when my brother, who's been like supporting me and just around, like we're family,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, I've spent more money on this foolishness than I have on the things that are actually important. My brother will always be there.
True.
And this other random person, I mean, I don't have a ring on, so
I have a few, but not on the right finger. So.
yeah, so it's not working out.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's just the start. I feel like that's the start of you realizing that, it can't always be about you.
Right.
It has to also include other people. And I feel like the happiness paradox is like involved in everything while still being separate.
Yeah.
It's kind of,
And that's the whole point of it, is it's a journey of self-realization, right? That's why you can't dictate. What I know you
it's
want to, I
disappointing.
know.
Yeah, it is. Like, how do we save the world?
We can't. But we can try. Like, if someone watches this and like, oh, I wonder what this is all about, and they look
Right.
into it, and maybe they start applying it to their own life.
Right.
Because the way I started was I read a book.
Mhm.
It was called If You're So Smart, Why Aren't You Happy? And I felt so targeted by the title
okay.
that I was like, let me buy
Okay.
it and
Yeah.
let me read it.
Okay.
Right, so that's how I became cognizant of it. And it has somewhat changed my thinking processes, because I'm like, oh, okay, I'm upset about this very minute thing. And instead of being upset and ruminating on it, I can change the circumstances that created it,
Right.
or bring myself to a place where I'm doing more things that bring me and those around me more happiness.
Right.
Right? So it's very much just self-reflection, right?
It is. Self-realization to me is we make it seem like it's so tangible. Like it's low-hanging fruit or something.
No,
yeah. I feel like people that are, I guess, have reached that self-actualization point are, I can't say they're more successful. I can't say that they're more anything, really. But I feel like they're closer to happiness.
Right.
They're just that much closer to being happy, if that's the goal. Because happy, I mean, it's not a scale that we use in this world. Like, we don't walk up to people and ask them, how happy are you?
Are you happy? Right. On a
we
scale of
ask-
1 to 10.
Yeah. We ask them about their families, what kind of jobs they have, how much they get paid, and then we assume that how much they get paid or how many kids they have or how big their house is
Will correlate.
will correlate to their happiness somehow. Yeah, and so that's what we do. So we just want to take some time to thank Astha for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, of course, and we plan to do more with you, most definitely. She's the expert.
I'm not, but okay, I'll take it.
She is the expert. That's what we're calling her. So if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, comment below. And again, this is Trollproof, and we are out here. Thank you.
Thanks. Right, you're asking for intermediary steps, basically. Is it Zach? That'd be funny if it's Zach.
It is.
Interrupted the video.
Yeah.
Astha. Zach.
Nice to meet you.
He said interrupted the video, huh? Yeah, you could just sit in the boss chair and
The boss chair.
just doodle.
Doodle. Because he's 5.
Right, because you're late. So